You know what? Sometimes being last to the party is the best thing. What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and we played around and worked with the AT&T and Sprint versions of the Galaxy S2. Well, now it's T-Mobile's turn. Here it is, T-Mobile's Galaxy S2, a little bit of a different design and a different processor as well, a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon S3 processor. So performance may be a little bit different on this device than it is on the Epic 4G Touch and on the Galaxy S2. So they've broken from the mold there, but otherwise still looks a lot like a Galaxy device. It has a 1,850 big milliamp hour battery, and it has an 8 megapixel camera, 1080p HD video recording, a front-facing camera, Android 2.3 and more. So it's definitely a feature-packed handset, and it's available now at T-Mobile for $230. Is this the one to get? Because it's going up against the HTC Amaze 4G, another awesome Android handset. It's a little bit more expensive, but has a nice build quality to it. Is this the one to get, or should you go with the Amaze, or maybe even something else on T-Mobile? We'll find out that and more in the review, but first, gotta give some love to my boys at Best Buy because they hook us up with phones just like this. I actually requested some Galaxy S2s, so be on the lookout for those for use in our One Ball Bandit game. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you don't have to deal with rebates. I hate rebates. I hate paperwork. I hate those stupid debit card things they send because honestly, I just want to check to go into my banking account. But you don't have to worry about that with Best Buy Mobile. You don't have to worry about rebates, anything like that. The instant prices are posted, and when you walk out that door, not dealing with any paperwork. It's pretty cool. Enough of that, let's get into it. So I'm going to start part two a little bit differently. Instead of doing the speed tests at the end, I'm going to do those at the beginning. I know, it's super exciting. But I want to show you that, it's funny because Quadrant Standard, even though, you see some of that lag and some of that stutter in this processor, the Snapdragon, in case you didn't catch part one, this one deviates a little bit from the Galaxy S2 line by offering a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon S3 processor. So it's running a different processor versus the Exynos processor that's clocked at 1.2 gigahertz in the other two and in the international version. And I do notice some stutter and notice some lag. Again, the average consumer is not going to notice. It's going to be perfectly fast to them, but I do notice that on this one. That said, the Quadrant Standard scores, as you'll see, have been right there on par, for the most part, with the other devices. Right there in that 3,200 to 3,700 range. So you'll take a look here and we'll see. But I'll talk a little bit while that's running about call quality. Call quality has been fantastic. Actually, well, I'll talk about that in just a second. Take that back. Went a little faster than I thought. 2,480. So actually, it's running a little bit slower right now. Let's run that again just to make sure we had a valid test. Call quality has been decent. I've been very pleased with it. The earpiece is nice and loud. T-Mobile's coverage, at least in the Charlotte metro area, and then where I was at in San Diego, seemed to work perfectly fine. The only area I'd had issues with was in the hotel in San Diego. Otherwise, worked great. The data speeds have been fantastic. We'll do some formal speed testing in just a minute, but they've been pretty impressive. Again, you're never going to reach 42 megabits per second, but 5 to 12 megabits per second, pretty decent for what some people are calling a fake 4G technology. Definitely done a good job there, so kudos to T-Mobile, and this is one of the few devices they have that supports that full protocol all the way up to 42 megabits per second. Battery life's been surprisingly decent as well, and I'll talk about that in just a second. There we go, 3,126. So obviously take these with a grain of salt. They're in no way indicative of day-to-day performance, but you can see Quadrant Standard pretty much puts it right on par with AT&T's Galaxy S2 and with Samsung's Epic 4G Touch. So it's interesting to see those little slowdowns and kind of those little stutters that you'll see from time to time if you really watch this review. So we'll go into speed test here and take a look and see what we can get on the network side. I'm going to show you some of the results here as well. You can see some of the results that I did between San Diego and between Charlotte. I've reached speeds between about 5 megabits per second. You can see some lows here, 4.94 megabits per second. Some highs in San Diego, 7.6. Actually, I think I was back in Charlotte with that one, 7.64. But you can see some San Diego stuff here in the 4s and 5s. And then you can see down here some Charlotte speeds, 10.22 megabits per second. And I must have deleted it when I got the, right out of the box within a couple of hours of getting it, I had one that was 12 megabits per second. So, again, decent speeds. For HSPA Plus, I've been very impressed, but we'll run one right now and take a look. And I'm in Uptown Charlotte right now, literally in City Center. And that'll be interesting to see what the speeds look like. I've been very impressed. Now, the battery life has been decent on this device as well. It has a 1,850 milliamp hour battery. Is it going to make it all the way through the day and into day two without a problem? No, but I will say you should be able to make it with moderate use about a day before it requires a charge. I found that the big screen doesn't necessarily require a much bigger battery like this one does, or has in comparison to the AT&T version. So it does wow, that's really terrible. I don't know why it's doing that, but we'll take a look. And see, you can see the results. I promise they've been much better than that, but perhaps it's just a fluke. But battery life's been pretty decent. Moderate use for me, text messaging, calling, doing things like that. I've made it through a day pretty easily on this device. Now, like the other Samsung devices, it does take some time to charge. You're going to need a full couple of hours to get it from 0 to 100%. And for those people like myself that thrive off the 15-minute charges, this device isn't going to cut it. You're not going to get enough charge, in a 15 or 20-minute charge between meetings. So something to keep in mind as well. So loading up now, and those are really terrible speeds. Not sure what's going on right there. Well, we'll take a look here and wait for it to load back up. Now, speed test has been having some issues. We can switch the server around as well, but you can definitely see, speeds have been that's very inconsistent or very unlike the norm. Speeds have been perfectly fine on this device. Now, it has an 8-megapixel camera and has 1080p HD video recording. If you want to see that recording, check out the YouTube channel, check out PhoneDog.com. And search for it. But I will show you the 8-megapixel camera, and we'll bring in. What are we going to bring into? Oh, since we're going to do this dogfight next week, we'll bring this one in, the HTC Amaze 4G. And actually, I want to put it. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to put it on the tablet so we can get a black backdrop there and kind of get an idea of what the colors look like on this unit. So there it is. Zoom in, and it does not have a physical camera button, so you can press the device down or press the button down to focus in, let go of it to take the picture, and you can see over here editing options, which include shooting mode, scene mode, exposure value, focus mode. You get a bunch of options to change the resolution, the white balance, and more. So a lot of options here. You can flip the camera around, and then you can turn the flash on and off and automatically migrate from camera to camcorder as well. So again, a decent camera. And Galaxy S2 does a very good job, at least on the Android side, of taking pictures. I've definitely not been disappointed on this, and you can see what it looks like in the gallery as well. So good look there. Even when zoomed in, you can clearly see the HTC logo. You can see with HTC Sense there pretty clearly. And all a very good camera that I've been pretty impressed with. It's going to be great for day shots, pretty decent for night shots, and when you're in a low lit area. It should be fine as well. And I want to show you the phone and the contacts as well, because I love how these differ from Galaxy S device to Galaxy S device. Down here you're going to notice there's 4 buttons instead of 3. First of all, you have a call button on the left, you have your voicemail, you have text messaging, and then you have delete. And one thing I've found is when I dial a number, and I'm not going to dial it because for whatever reason there's some contacts in here that aren't mine. So I'll dial 611 for example, I'll hit, and my hand defaults down here to the middle. That's where I've always imagined the button to be, and with most of the devices I've worked with, it's usually in the middle. I mean, you look at like HTC Sense, not to compare in preparation for the dogfight, but you can just see in comparison here, call is always right there in the middle as opposed to this. So, by habit, I dial 611, I go to press this, and I inevitably end up hitting voicemail or text messaging. That's the only minor con I can think of. But up top, you have logs, contacts, favorites, and groups. And I want to show you, none of these contacts are mine. Abogado Arturo is not my friend. I'm sure he's probably a nice guy, but he's not my friend. Alex, Ariel, none of these are Billy. Now, Billy Bob is my friend. Billy Bob is one of mine, and you can see here in the TouchWiz 4.0 interface, you have the ability to see info, history, activities, and media as well. So you have call home, you can text message, you can make phone calls, and of course it'll show the address down here and notes. Apparently I said hey BB at some, oh hey Billy Bob, I get it. Aha, Billy Bob. And then my contacts and the fact that it's set to a default ringtone. So again, pretty predictable here. Nothing really different from the Galaxy S2 devices, but I wanted to show you this in comparison to perhaps you're coming from a Sense device, or you're coming from iOS, or you're coming from Motorola's UI. You do have some nice ability to see the history, activities, media, and more. So it's a decent interface. You have a picture up there, and you can set it as your favorite contact or one of your favorites if you so desire. And then you have Gmail over here. Actually, before we check out Gmail, and check out Market, because this has changed. And again, this is one of those areas, along with videos and along with the internet, where you can really take advantage of that 4.52-inch display. It's nice to have a bigger display when it comes to media and viewing mobile content. And you can see, for example, with apps, we'll come in here and take a look. And you see the Market's been redesigned. If you're coming, and if you have an Android device, it should have already migrated to this. But again, they made huge improvements over the years, and this is just another great addition. You'll see here, it's in this kind of grid format here with the individual boxes, and then you have apps up top. You have search, top paid, top free, top grossing, and then we can go here and take a look, for example, at Gmail, and you can see when it loads up the Gmail screenshots, I can open or uninstall it, I can share it, I can search for something else, allow for automatic updating since it's already installed. Rate and review, what's new, description, reviews, and of course you can turn it into landscape mode as well if you want to, and access it that way. And again, because of that larger display, for somebody that's has a hard time seeing or has a hard time with these touchscreens, maybe coming from a BlackBerry or something with a keyboard, and they're like, I'm not so sure I can do this on a physical screen. Rebecca, I'm giving this is for you. These devices like this, the Epic 4G Touch, the Galaxy S2, with the larger display. Rebecca's our business manager. It's RA on Twitter, or Phone Dog Becca. So go give her some love, PhoneDog_Becca. I know she prefers a physical keyboard, but for somebody that may be migrating or has to migrate, this big display is probably going to be a nice transition from you know, a touch one with a keyboard all the way over to this. So something to keep in mind. And I wanted to show you Gmail quickly. No huge changes here, but you can see Gmail. And what I love about Gmail on Android is the ability to search between, you know, I have something like 40,000 emails in my work email account. And so if I remember back in October, last October, John Doe sent me an email about the Motorola Electrify being leaked or something. I can go in here, I can hit search, and I can select, let's try, and you can see all the searches that I've done from CTIA, trying to remember exactly my appointment times, because inevitably, when I travel through time zones, the appointment times get screwed up in the calendar. So I was doing that. I was actually using this with my work account earlier in the week. So you can see here, for example, we'll go into Music Beta by Google, and you can see when I go up, it's supposed to, there we go, let's try that again, there. The header is supposed to stay at the top, and then of course, you know, it shows me who sent it to me, and then I can show the pictures, and I can use it in portrait or landscape. So when you're doing something like email, I can't harp on this enough, email, web, you're doing videos, it's really nice to have that big display. And all in all, you know, even though it is a pretty big display, you look at it in comparison to something like the iPhone 4, the iPhone 4S, you can say, I gotta get used to saying iPhone 4S. You can see it is much bigger, but still, because it's a thin device, it's relatively easy to fit in the pocket, and you don't really notice the added heft. So all in all, it's a great device. It's going to be interesting to pit this device up against the HTC Amaze 4G next week, so be on the lookout for that. But you know, T-Mobile Galaxy S2, it's $230, so it breaks that $200 price tier that we're familiar with and we've known for a couple of years on all the carriers. So it's a little bit more expensive. I do think it's worth it, but keep in mind, if you're a diehard enthusiast, or if you're you know, you're a big Android person, you are going to notice a difference coming from the unlocked Galaxy S2. And, as well as T-Mobile's, or well as AT&T's and Sprint's in comparison to this. That Exynos processor just runs better with TouchWiz. You'll see little lag, little inconsistencies from time to time. I notice it right away just because I've worked with all these pretty extensively. I can even tell how slowly programs close on this in comparison. So obviously, you know, your experience is going to vary, but I'm just saying, for somebody that's used to Android or used to the performance of the other ones, this one isn't quite up to par. Still, it's a fast handset. I'm not negating that. It's a fast handset that most consumers should like, and it has a lot to offer for a lot of different people. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com with T-Mobile Samsung Galaxy S2. So keep it locked on the site. Give us some love on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Head over there, because we always do awesome giveaways and we have some cool content. Hey, we're on there. What could be better? You know, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Go over, like us, say hello in the comments section, and be sure to follow me on Twitter as well, PhoneDog_Aaron. And on Facebook at Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Stay on the lookout for that dogfight on Monday. And as always, we'll see you next time.